So the PowerPoint presentation you're going to be looking at now to help you with Chapter 2 is meeting the physical and emotional care needs of children. And the aims and objectives of this session are by the end of the session you will be able to identify the physical needs of children aged 0 to 3 and 3 to 5 years of age. You'll be able to identify emotional needs of children aged 0 to 3 and 3 to 5 years of age. Describe what may happen if their physical and emotional needs are not met, and explain why we must consult the parents and children about their care. So make sure you look out for the green box on the right hand side, and this shows you which question that the slide relates to. When you're working through the PowerPoints, ensure that you share your own ideas as well as the ideas that are on the PowerPoint slides. Share your own. This demonstrates a much stronger understanding of the content, and it shows us that you have a stronger understanding of the content, and when you're answering the questions. And if you do wish to progress on to the next level, it helps you to to look at a wider reading and more understanding of that particular topic that you're looking at. So what age children are we looking at? So during this qualification, you are aiming to look at working with children 0 to 5 years of age. So that's birth to 5 years of age. If you wish to work with children older than 5, you can give an example for the 0 to 5 years of age within your answer, and then expand your knowledge further by researching yourself and giving an example for children of the age range which is over 5 years of age. So you must also always give the answer with the 0 to 5, but you can give your own ideas and own examples of children aged over 5. Children's physical needs. Have a look at the green box in the corner, and this relates to question 4, question 9 and question 10. So, when you start looking at the slide, just get into the habit of looking first of all which question it relates to, so that will help you when you're writing your answers within your workbook. Children all have physical needs. As all children are different, some of their needs will be unique to them. So, what kind of physical needs could children aged 0 to 5 have? So I want you just to think about that for a few minutes before moving on to the next slide. Have a think, what kind of physical needs could children aged 0 to 5 have? So here are some ideas and some examples of children's physical needs. You may have thought of some others, and that's absolutely fine. The first one, eating and drinking. So children need nutrition. They need to eat, they need to drink to keep themselves healthy, to keep themselves physically fit. So nutrition is a physical need of all children. Warmth. Children need clothing, they need footwear, they need to be kept warm. They need shelter, so having somewhere safe to live, having a roof over their head and making sure it's somewhere safe. Hygiene, so good hygiene practice, so they need to be able to bathe, toilet, if they wear a nappy, so have regular nappy changes. They need fresh air, so they don't need to be cooped up all day, they need to be outside, so they need to have access to the outdoors to be able to get that fresh air. They need exercise, and again, that comes from getting outside, going for walks, taking them out, strolls in the pushchair, in a pram. But children need exercise. And the final one on here, they need sleep and they need rest. And they need enough sleep to make sure that their physical needs are met, and they need to be able to rest and not wear themselves out. And having a routine is another important part of that, so getting them into a routine of having the sleeps and the rest. So what happens if we don't meet these needs? So let's have a look. So at nutrition. So if children are having inadequate nutrition, this can lead to them having poor growth. It could lead to them being underweight or overweight. So by not eating enough food, they could be underweight, and by overeating, so eating too much unhealthy food, having an unhealthy diet, this can lead to a child being overweight. And also within healthy food, there are vitamins, and this can prevent infections. So if we don't meet their needs, they can be prone to infections, and they can be poorly, become sick, and they're not going to develop. If they don't have enough sleep and rest, so a lack of rest and sleep, this contributes to them having accidents. So they could be tired, they could be falling over, they could be irritable, and they won't be able to concentrate. This can affect their learning. If they're tired and not being able to concentrate, their learning can be affected. Poor hygiene, so that can lead to infections. And shelter, so if they don't have a safe shelter, safe roof over their head, obviously this can cause accidents. So what I want you to do now, I want you to have a think and have a look at these 5 questions. And I want you to have a think about them before you move on to the next slide. Just have a think about each one. Make yourself some notes. If you've got pen and some paper, just jot some notes down, and think about what gives children energy to grow and be healthy. What helps children to be strong and healthy? What do children need at night? What do children need to keep warm? And what do children need to be clean and tidy? So think about those before you move on to the next slide. So you will see food and drink is what gives children energy to grow and be healthy. We talked a little bit about it earlier on. But children do need food, and they do need drink, and they need to eat a healthy diet as well to obviously give that balance for their growth. Exercise is what helps children to be strong and healthy. And again, we talked about it before when we said about children being able to get outside. They need to have a run around, need to have access to the outdoor area to actually to get that exercise. Children need sleep and rest at night. They need, as we said before, they need to get, the appropriate amount of hours sleep as well. They need to go to bed at a reasonable time and get enough hours so that they're not tired the next day. Children need suitable clothing and footwear to keep warm, and children need a bath or a shower to be able to, to keep them clean and tidy. So this now brings you to your workbook and question number 4, and you will see that this slide relates to question number 4, and you're going to need to read the scenario. Now the scenario is in your work booklet, and the scenario is on Bal. And I'm going to just read you through it here. It's on the slide as well. So Bal is 5 years old and has been physically disabled from birth. He was born in Yorkshire, the child of Indian Sikhs. His parents both work in law and speak excellent English. Bal is bilingual but prefers to speak English as this is his first and preferred language. Bal needs assistance with personal care and toileting but can transfer well from his wheelchair on his own. He does get tired during the day, though from his disability, so he needs help sometimes. Bal is learning phonics at school and his speech and pronunciation is excellent and above average for his level, but due to his medication he struggles to hold a pen. His parents are keen for him to do exercises to strengthen his muscles and are awaiting a physiotherapist appointment. Bal likes to visit the Gurdwara Sikh temple on Sundays with his family. He is a strict vegetarian and does not eat or drink any lactose products, although it is unclear if he is allergic. Bal takes muscle relaxant medication to stop his muscles in his legs from tightening. This medication can make him drowsy. Bal does not remove his jewellery, which is a bangle, or top knot for religious reasons. Bal enjoys activities such as board games, reading, and using the computer. He mainly participates in these activities independently. He has an active mind and he likes serious conversations about dinosaurs and outer space rather than typical children's entertainment. So once you've read the scenario or listened to the scenario which I've just read out, you need to identify 2 physical needs that Bal has. You then need to demonstrate your understanding using sentences of what could happen to Bal if these physical needs are not met. So we're now going to look at children's emotional needs, and you'll see this slide relates to question 5, question 9 and question 10. Children all have emotional needs, and as all children are different, some of their needs will be unique to them. What kind of emotional needs could children aged 0 to 5 have? So for a few minutes I want you to have a think about that, and then you can move to the next slide. So here are some examples of children's emotional needs. So the first one, consistent affection. So by giving children hugs and kisses, it will make the emotional needs, they'll enjoy it, they'll feel that they're important, and the consistency is important as well. So making sure we are consistent when we're doing it and not just when we feel like it. Play and stimulation. So giving children the opportunities for play and stimulation is really important for emotional needs. Give role play, playing with toys, playing activities for them to have a go and get involved is really important. Opportunities for social contacts, so helping children to making friends, with the adults speaking to the children. So, by that social contact, that communication, it's really important for their confidence. Independence, so let children have a go themselves. This helps them to learn. If we're not letting them have a go, then they're not going to learn. Praise and encouragement, so by giving the children a well done, high five, things like that, it's giving them the confidence to know they've done well and to know that they'll have a go again. It gives them the confidence to do that. And if we don't meet these needs, if we don't give them constant affection, so if we're inconsistent or not enough affection, inadequate affection, a children's going to feel insecure because they're not going to know quite where they are if it's inconsistent. Opportunities for the social contact. So if we don't give them those opportunities in the future, they may find it difficult in making friends, or even from a young age. If children are not given that from a young age, they're not going to make friends. Independence, so we talked before about independence. So if they're not allowed to try and have a go themselves, they're going to lack the independence, they're going to lack confidence, and they're going to become dependent on the adults. So for example, you're working in the nursery, it's time to go and play outside, the children need to go and get their coats on. You might have, I worked in the local primary school as a teaching assistant, and we had 30 children in the class. So for me to put 30 coats on 30 children, playtime would be over. So it's really important that you support the independence and you encourage children to have a go, put their coat on. Some will need help more than others. Eventually, they'll get the hang of it. The next stage would be to maybe fasten the zip on the coat, but it's important that we let them be independent and have a go themselves. And it's sometimes about just making that little bit of extra time, get them ready to go outside that little bit earlier so that they can have a go and you're not feeling that you're rushing them. And then that brings us to praise and encouragement. If they don't get praise and encouragement, they're going to lack the confidence. So go back to the coat situation. If a child's popped their own coat on and had a go, Praise, oh, well done. You know, you've put your own coat on, you've fastened your own zip. That's absolutely brilliant. Well done. They're going to do it again. They're not going to be reliant upon you to put their coat on. They're just going to go get it off their peg or wherever and put it on themselves. So it's a sense of achievement for them. You've praised and encouragement, and you're supporting their independence. So remember, children need praise. Well done, good job. Children need to learn how to be independent. Children need to socialise with others. Children need love and affection all the time. And children need to play. So you're now going to go back to your workbook and you're going to look at question number 5. You're going to read the scenario, which is in the workbook. And I'm going to read it to you on this slide in a moment as well. And you need to read it carefully and find out as much information on Stanley to fill in question 5. So Stanley is 3 years old. He was born in Yorkshire but now lives in Lancashire with foster parents after suffering a bruise from his mother and father during his early years. He attends a day nursery. Because of the abuse he suffered, Stanley is partially deaf and wears a hearing aid. He tears the hearing aid off though and has limited understanding of what it is for, which makes him frustrated that he can't hear. This has affected his speech, which is delayed. His nursery teachers have recently started using picture cards to help his communication skills to develop. Stanley lacks emotional bonds due to the abuse he suffered from his parents. He has no friends at nursery. He also has a global development delay, and you can do some research on this to find out what that is, which causes him to be confused and frustrated when he cannot do the same things as his peers at nursery. This can sometimes lead to aggressive behaviour, especially when he has to sit down for circle time. He has been known to lash out at staff members and other children. Stanley cannot walk well. He has some balance but stumbles when tired. He gets angry when this happens. His foster carers said they go for longer walks. He sometimes uses a special pushchair. The nursery needs to take this into account when organising their activities so that Stanley can be included. He gets tired in the afternoon and usually has a nap at nursery. He's usually angry before a nap and when he wakes up. Stanley is still learning toilet training and needs prompting every hour. He uses a pull-up as a precaution. He is slowly learning the routine of washing his hands after using the toilet but gets angry if he feels it is not his decision. Stanley likes junk food. His foster carers are keen for him to sample new dishes at nursery so that his palate can adapt to new tastes and textures. However, he can be quite stubborn about food and won't try new tastes. He doesn't like sauces, pasta, pizza or garlic and will not eat food that is mixed up or mashed together. He is underweight for his age and staff have to monitor and record what he has eaten. So as I say, you have a look at Stanley and then you need to identify 2 emotional needs that Stanley has. You then need to demonstrate your understanding using sentences of what could happen to Stanley if these emotional needs are not met. So this slide, if you look at the green box, relates to question 6 and question 8. It's looking at meeting needs and involving parents and carers. So why is it important to involve children's parents or carers when planning care? So have a think about that for a few moments and then you can move on to the next slide. So why is it important? So families know their child best. They will be able to tell you what their child likes, dislikes, what their usual routine is at home, what they might do when they are in pain. So for example, on there you can see that it says, if they are teething, they may rub their head. You need to know these things because you're going to be caring for their child. So it's important that you find out off the family, as much information as you possibly can about that child, about their child. It's to make sure there's a continuity of care as well for the child. So if the child is receiving a similar care at the setting, so it could be a nursery setting, a childminding setting, if it's similar to what they're being received at home, this can help that transition from the nursery to the childminder easier for the child. They will settle better because they're having that similar routine that they do at home. Young children are unable to communicate their needs. A child may have an additional need and they might not be able to communicate with you. So it's important that you find out as much information of the parent carer. They can tell you what their likes and dislikes are, such as food, toys, and routines. You need to know about their emotional needs. So again, the parents or the carers will know this. Do they have a comforter? Do they have fears? Do they have a nap in the daytime? They might need their favourite teddy bear, their favourite comforter to go to sleep for their nap. So it's important that you know that. They might not like loud noises. So again, it's really important that you know that and you can find the information from the parents or the carers. Children may have particular needs. So they may have a health need such as asthma, epilepsy or diabetes. So again, it's really important that you find that information of the children's parents or carers because, if you've got a health need, it's really important that you know that asthma, epilepsy, diabetes, they can all cause they can all be come on quite quickly as well. So it's important that you know and you know how to manage those as well for that particular child. Dietary needs, so child might be vegetarian, only eating halal foods. So again, it's important. They might have allergies, so you need to know. And skincare, such as allergies or eczema, again, important that you know what those are. And a child maybe with eczema, for example, they might need some medicated cream. That might be prescribed by the GP. So it's important again you know about that and that you've got that cream if it needs to be the child needs it when they're in your care. Obviously you will get permission for this as well of the parents or carers. So, it's really important to know the parents' wishes also about how to care for their child. So, for example, religious preferences, again, it's important that you know what they are. So you're now going to look back in your workbook at question number 6, and it's asking you to explain why it is important to consult with parents and carers to meet the needs of children aged 0 to 5 years of age. You need to give at least 2 reasons, so at least 2 reasons, so 2 or more, but at least 2. Think about the scenario. So think about Bal and think about Stanley, their stories, their scenarios. Why do you need to involve the parents and carers to meet those 2 children's needs? Remember to use sentences in your answer and give reasons. It's an explanation. So you need to say, why, what are the reasons for doing this? So why must Bal's parents or Stanley's foster carers be involved in their care, for example? Okay, so look at the green box. So this slide relates to questions 7 and 8. So meeting needs and involving children. So we've talked about the previous one. Why do we need to involve adults and or carers? So why is it important to involve the children when planning care? So again, think about that for a few moments before you look at the next slide. So it's important to involve children when planning their care, because we need to respect them as individuals. We need to listen to what they want. Just because they're children, it doesn't mean they can't tell you what they want. So it's important that we do listen to them. We need to make them feel valued. We need to know what they like and what they don't, their likes and dislikes. Just because they're children, they are allowed to have likes and dislikes. And it's important that we value that. We need to provide the continuity. So, like we said earlier, if they do something at home, we need to be providing that. Mummy does it like this. So it's important that we continue that with them. We need to make children feel secure. We need to let them be able to feel safe when making suggestions or asking for help. We need to develop their self-esteem and their confidence, and again, getting them being able to ask the staff. To promote their independence, I can do that myself. We talked about independence earlier on, so it's important that we let them do it, and if they say they can do it themselves, then let them have a go and not just presume that you'll do it, like we said about putting coats on. Oh, we've not got time for you to do it yourself, let me put your coat on. It's important that we do promote that independence. So this brings you to question number 7 in your workbook, and it's asking you to explain why it is important to consult with children aged 0 to 5 years of age when meeting their needs. Give at least 2 reasons and think about the scenarios with Bal and Stanley. Why do you think you need to involve the children to meet their needs? And remember to use sentences in your answer. So give reasons. So that's to support your explanation. And for example, why should Bal and Stanley be involved in their care decisions and meet their needs? So that's question number 7. So we're now going to look at question number 8 in your workbook. And it's asking you to identify how the parent or carer or the child may feel if they are not consulted about meeting the child's needs. So relate question 8 to the 2 scenarios that we've looked at previously. Look at Bal and Stanley. They're in your workbooks and they're on the slide. How might the parents and carers of Bal and Stanley feel if they're not involved in the care planning? And also, how might Bal and Stanley themselves feel if they're not involved in the care planning and unable to say what they like and dislike? So remember, look at the scenarios and think of the questions and use your scenario when you're answering. So this slide, you'll see at the bottom, it relates to question 9 and question 10, and it's about planning care for children. So we're going to look first at child-centred care. So planning care should always the planning of care should always be child-centred. And this means you have to find out as much information as possible about the individual to create their individual care plan, and it should be unique to them. No 2 plans of care would be the same, as every child is unique. They may have similarities, but they never will be the same because everyone, like we've said, is unique and they're individual. So when we're planning the care, we're looking at the individual, we'll look at nutrition. So does the child follow a special diet? Do they still have milk? Is it formula milk or breast milk? Do they have any allergies? Do they have problems with eating? All these are really important. You need to find these out. Like we've talked about before, we involve the parent or the carer and we involve the child as well. And we'll find out as much information about the nutrition, about their requirements to put in their care plan. Clothing. So can they dress and undress themselves? So, for example, when they go to the toilet, are they able to use the toilet themselves? We talked a little bit before about independence, but we need to know if they can do this when they're starting, when we're caring for them, so that we can, we can support the independence, but we might need to help them at first. Can they control their temperature? So do they know if they're warm, they can take their cardigan or their jumper off, or if they're cold, do they know they put their cardigan or jumper on? So these are the things that we need to be finding out for their care plan. Exercise. So what kind of exercise can the child do? Can they walk? Do they have mobility problems? All important for when we're planning, the daily activities for the child. Sleep. We need to know what their sleep pattern is. Does the child have a good routine at home? Do they have a bedtime? Do they still nap during the day? Any medications which may make them sleepy? If you're working with them in a nursery, some nurseries do have set sleep times. However, it's really important that we know that particular child's routine because, when they do have like a nap time routine in the nursery, it might be that child might not be tired at that time. So again, we can plan around that for the individual child. Independence, so obviously we talked a little bit on the last slide about independence as well, but we need to encourage them to learn to be independent. What might the child need? Is there anything unique to them that we need to know to support independence? So we're now going to look at question number 9, and you will see there's a scenario. It's here on the slide and it's also in your workbook, and it's a scenario about Valentina, who's 2 years old and she's Caribbean descent. She loves church and her family will go as often as possible. She's got 2 brothers who are much older than her. They go to the local secondary school and sometimes they pick Valentina up from nursery if her mum and dad are unable to collect her. Her brothers bring her lots of treats, and Valentina knows they will have sweets for her. She has 16 cousins, and the family gather each weekend. She likes to play with dinosaurs and dolls and join in any group activities, but can be prone to take over sometimes as she is bigger in height than many of the other children in the nursery. Valentina is overweight for her age and has big personality. She enjoys her food but is on a diet, and this is instructed by her GP, which must be low in fat, sugar and salt because of her excess weight. Valentina will eat others' leftovers if she can, so she needs to be monitored closely at meal times. Valentina is almost toilet trained but is prone to accidents as she gets distracted easily. She needs help when toileting and to stay clean. Valentina is eager to join in with activities, but she prefers to play in a group of children than on her own. Nursery staff are trying to encourage her to play on the bikes outside for exercise as part of her diet plan. She's happy and cooperative most of the time. So you need to obviously read the scenario and then write in the appropriate box how you would make sure her care needs are met and they are unique to her. So have a look at, you make yourself some notes. You can use a highlighter pen if you want to highlight some of the points within the scenario to actually help you to answer the question and look in what her care needs are and what are those that are unique to her. So question number 10 is another scenario which relates to Jeremy. And again, if you've got a highlighter pen or you can underline, have a look, make yourself some notes when you're reading the scenario, because you need again to write in the appropriate box how you would make sure Jeremy's needs are met and unique to him. And I'll read you through Jeremy's scenario. So he's 4 years old and he's been going to the nursery since he was 6 months old. He has a favourite nursery assistant and he has his favourite nursery assistants and can be uncooperative with anybody new. The staff are concerned about how he will feel when he joins the local school in a couple of months. He's from a single parent family and his mother works long hours in finance. Jeremy came to the nursery with epilepsy and is under constant medical review for his medication. Now he is using new medication. His medication can make him uncoordinated, drowsy, and makes him hot and sweaty. He needs a longer nap than most children his age because of the medication he takes. He is a timid little boy and sometimes the other children push him into situations he feels uncomfortable with, such as playing outside on the play park as he appears to dislike heights. Although this could be due to the medication, he is softly spoken and mostly pleasant. Jeremy seems to prefer to play indoors with the trains and cars. He will join in with a couple of children, but he doesn't like playing with a lot of children. Jeremy has a brother who recently went to the school attached to the nursery. They get along well and staff think he might miss his brother. Jeremy has no religion. He loves singing and can annoy others with his humming, but does not seem aware that he is annoying other children. Jeremy can do most things for himself, but he can be quite slow sometimes. Jeremy will pick up odd objects and keeps them in his pockets. Jeremy is toilet trained but needs prompts to use the toilet regularly. So as I say, you need to have a look and answer from the scenario how you would make sure that Jeremy's care needs are met and are unique to him. So that was the final question within this chapter, and just want to go over the aims and objectives again. Now you've finished the chapter and answered the questions, so you now should be able to identify physical needs of children aged from 0 to 3 and 3 to 5 years of age, identify emotional needs of children aged 0 to 3 and 3 to 5 years of age. You should be able to describe what may happen if their physical and emotional needs are not met, and finally explain why you must consult the parents and children about their care.